It's been the subject of much debate at Shoalhaven Council. It's also been the subject of hearings in the Land and Environment Court. Just explain to us where it's all up to.
Yes, it's St George's Basin rather than Sanctuary Point, but it's at a stage where, if I can sort of go backwards a little bit, the council back in 2011-12, a small number of councillors made a decision to grant a spot rezoning to increase the height limit above the height limit for the surrounding area to 13 metres, which allowed 4 stories to be built on these 2 lots at Anson Street, just near the junction of Island Point Road. The applicant initially put in a DA for the first 2 buildings, and that was actually approved by the Land and Environment Court last year.
Okay, and that was what 54?
54 apartments in 2 buildings, yes. Then subsequently, during the process, because the community had kicked up a stink about the whole issue of the rezoning, council, a full meeting of the council voted in the end of 2016, December 2016, to reduce the height on these blocks back to 8.5 metres to be in character with the rest of St George's Basin. Now, what happened then was subsequently the applicant put in what is known as a concept master plan application to build a total of 15 buildings, of which 14 were 4-storey and 1 was 2-storey. That would put 380 apartments on this site.
Now, in anybody's language, 380 apartments or units on an area like that's pretty substantial development.
It certainly is. It certainly is. It's definitely high density in a low density area. If you look at St George's Basin, generally it's all less than 15 dwellings per hectare, and even the retirement villages are less than 50 dwellings per hectare, and this was proposing in excess of 120 dwellings per hectare. So it's very dense, and it's very hard to see the need or the desire for that to happen within a small rural village.
I understand another round of submissions on it about to close.
Yes, that's right. What happened was that the council's application to reduce the height had to go to the New South Wales Department of Planning. That required extra reports to be produced. They went through to the planning department last year, and end of 2017, the department, through the gateway process, agreed that it was a decision that the council could make. So the council are now in the process of implementing that decision, and it's been on public exhibition for a while, and in fact the submissions close the end of tomorrow.
Now, Philip, if you were a betting man,
you've used that term 4 times this morning.
Have I? No.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get a new one next time.
Okay, good.
Do you really think this is ever going to get off the ground?
Well, I've got a background in the property development industry. I find it hard to see how this stacks up. It doesn't look to me like a practical solution, and one that would actually attract either construction finance or much of a market. But that's a personal opinion, and maybe the applicant has evidence to the contrary, but if he has, he certainly hasn't displayed it anywhere in the whole process.
So, Philip, in some form, it probably will get up. But tell me, is there a take-up of the population out there to fill this many apartments?
No,
there's not.
No, absolutely not. No, St George's Basin, the residential, it's almost 100% residential. It's almost mostly single or some 2-storey. They're normal up to sort of 600 plus square metre lots, and there are sort of around 40 to 50 a year sold on average.
don't know if you've spoken about this yet because I've just jumped back in, but I believe that some people are afraid that it's going to become housing commission and that there are going to be some issues with possibly safety and the fact of children walking past the building if this does happen.
Well, there's nothing to say that it will. I guess people are drawing that conclusion from that. They're looking at the number and thinking, well, how on earth are these ever going to be filled?
Yeah.
And therefore maybe they end up being housing commission or something similar. There's no real evidence that that's the case, but certainly lots of people in the community, particularly people in that immediate area, are concerned about safety and social issues, and they have been raised with the Land and Environment Court.
You say 380 apartments is out of the question. What number do you think would be more suitable?
Well, look, I think that the site itself would suit itself to something similar to the retirement village concept, where you're talking about single or two-storey type dwellings. All the retirement villages around here are all single-storey for obvious reasons. And they're a density of 40 or 50 per hectare. So that would put maybe 100 dwellings across the site. But I think it's more than that. It's how you design it. If it's designed in the kind of context that the Act actually requires, which is a sort of spread of different types of accommodation on the site. You could actually have something which contributes quite a lot to St George's Basin, but that clearly hasn't been thought about. It just looks more or less like a sort of ambit claim to get as many approvals on the site as they possibly can, presumably to then on-sell it.
How much has the St George's Basin and Sanctuary Point area changed after the boom in the market in Sydney, where you get a lot of cashed up people moving out of Sydney and moving down to the Bay and Basin area? How does that change the makeup of the area?
I don't know that it has actually. Our family's been here since 1964, not permanently, but my wife and I are now permanent residents. And obviously the area generally has an older demographic, and that's exacerbated not only by retirees moving into the area, but also for the lack of opportunities for work for the younger generation who have to travel to other places in order to find work. So it's an older generation area, and I think that's likely to continue. I've watched the change of the area progressively over a number of years. It's probably accelerated in the last 15 years as more people move out of the bigger cities, particularly the older age group who are looking for less traffic and less pollution and more peace and quiet.
You're fortunate out there, mate, that you've got some land to develop. I was listening to some of the Shoalhaven Heads community in the last week where they're trying to get a retirement village out there on some parcel of land. They've just been knocked back, and basically if they don't get the retirement village they so-called want, they'll have to go to Gerringong or Narra to go to a retirement village in the future. So interesting times, because I know the St George's Basin area is such a growing place, and I can imagine what it was like at Christmas time out there. It would have been extremely busy, but accommodation like this in your area is probably needed, but at a smaller scale. That's what your community feels anyway.
Well yeah, I think the community and the residents forum has made it pretty clear all the way along that they don't have any objection to development. It's just the type of development. Whatever is developed out here needs to remain within character, and I think this doesn't just apply to St George's Basin and Sanctuary Point. It applies to the whole of the Shoalhaven area. That we are a rural community at heart, and we need to we don't really need to go to heavy densities. We've got a huge amount of space that's available to us. And generally people prefer living in less dense areas. They live in the cities because it's an only choice.
Yeah. Well, that's why you move there. All right, Philip, so those submissions close tomorrow?
Yeah, so if you want to put a submission in, you go to the council's website, and it's a fairly straightforward process. Sorry, I've just got a bit cracky in the throat here. The Shoalhaven Council website has a section called My Council.
Yep.
And under that section you can go down to planning proposals, and that you'll find a planning proposal which applies to St George's Basin, and you can just click on that and put in your details and just say whatever you wanted to comment on, but basically supporting the council's proposal.
To reduce the height.
I understand there are quite a few submissions already, as you'd expect, but then it goes to the council. But it's not just people in St George's Basin and Sanctuary Point that need to take an interest in this, because if you like the nature of the Shoalhaven as it is, then it's important to ensure that the council and the council laws in particular understand that the community wants to enjoy the area as it is, and that new development needs to be in line with its local environment plan, not make spot changes here and there to suit a particular developer.
All right, Philip, it's got a bit of a way to travel yet, so not only do the submissions close tomorrow, but of course it goes back to the Land and Environment Court in March as well. Thanks for your time this morning, and we'll get going.
Right.
We'll continue to follow with interest.
Okay, thank you.
Philip Blackman.
Thanks, Phil.
We just want to say sorry to a couple of people on the Facebook stream. We've had a few technical difficulties this morning, a few computers deciding they want to update in the middle of the stream, so sorry.